Now, I'm delighted to say we're joined on the line by Orlagh Farmer, recently retired 6-time All-Ireland winner with Cork. Orlagh, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
The decision to finish up, was it straightforward? Was it complicated? Had you reached the natural end, or were you thinking, I might give this one more year?
I think every year now it's one more year, one more year. But particularly the last year, I think it was kind of on my mind. And I suppose I have been on the road a long time as well. I was actually thinking back there. I've never missed a championship of football since I was 13 years of age. So it's been a long but a very enjoyable journey. And I think it just comes to a stage, I suppose I'm getting a bit older now. I turned 30 last year, and I think the body is slowing down a bit. And I think maybe I wasn't getting the same buzz as I used to as well. When I was a bit younger, just the kind of championship buzz feeling as much this year as I have previously. So, I think I have kind of other plans as well with my career and things. So it was just the right decision for this year coming, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter as well.
When you say you haven't missed the championship season, does that mean you haven't been injured for that whole time as well? You actually managed to play every year? Yeah.
So fortunately enough, I had the opportunity under 14 the whole way up to play in the red and white jersey.
That's incredible.
So, it's been a massive privilege to represent my county, and ever since I was a young girl, that's all I ever wanted, was to run out under the tunnel in Croke Park and with all the girls I looked up to, and thankfully we had that success over the years as well.
Well, that 6 in a row era, Orlagh, 2011 to 16. I know Orlagh Finn retired as well just a few days before yourself. So it's the end of an era in some ways.
It is sad. It is very emotional, and especially because it's just such a massive part of my life, both on and off the pitch as well. And Orlagh, like, speaking of Orlagh Finn as well, like we've been best friends since we were 13. Like, we both played together the whole way up, all the way. We kind of started together and we finished together. So it has been very emotional the last few days. But I suppose, look, that's sport, that's life. You can't keep holding on forever. I actually remember a few years ago, Eamonn Ryan, our coach, he used to always kind of say to us, never take this for granted. Like, you'll never do this training session again. You'll never play this match again. And you've only such a short span in your life that you can play at such a high level. So just to maximise that and kind of make the most of it. I think I don't really appreciate that until you come away from it, really. So look, as I said, that's just part of life. That's sport, and I am ready now, which makes it a bit easier. Like, I've come to the fifth stage of grief, which is acceptance. So I've accepted the fact now that I'll no longer have the red and white jersey on the pitch, but for sure I'll be supporting on the stand.
Do you take it for granted at the time, Orlagh? Because I'm thinking back, like that first All-Ireland win in 2011, when you're doing the parade before the match, you're not to know that it's the first of 6 All-Ireland wins in a row at the time. So, I mean, do any particular moments like that stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been brilliant. Like, it's to win 6 All-Ireland medals in a row. Never ever thought that was possible. I suppose I was lucky enough to come into an already successful Cork ladies football team with the likes of Breach Corkery and Rena Buckley, Reid Stack, Valerie Mulcahy, all those girls. Like, they were phenomenal, and they had won 5 in a row before I even came into the panel. So I suppose we were lucky to kind of come into that winning mindset and that momentum. But I mean, it's been brilliant over the years. And I think when I think of standout moments like that in the All-Irelands, definitely the first one, because 2011 was my first All-Ireland, and it was a dream come true. I think as well the 2014 All-Ireland, when we were down against Dublin, 10 points with like 15 minutes to go. I think everyone can remember that game. That was definitely a standout game as well. It's just the sheer excitement and joy of coming back and beating the Dubs by a point as well. And I think 2016, the 6th All-Ireland, for me personally, meant a lot, particularly as my family were all there as well. And I have a really vivid memory of that game, and I'll just never forget the hooter going off the last 10 seconds. That was just a special moment. And looking up at the stand, just because, years prior to that, I was sitting in the stand. I was the young girl with my parents, watching the Cork ladies, going out winning the Brendan Martin, and all of a sudden I just had that kind of moment where I looked up at the stand with the last 10 seconds to go, and that was special for me because, my dreams had come true essentially, and I really, really appreciated and enjoyed that game as well.
We should be introducing you, I suppose, as Dr. Orlagh Farmer, not necessarily just Orlagh, but because you tweeted at the, when you were announcing your retirement, you tweeted, looking forward to the next chapter, inspiring the younger generation to participate, stay involved, and most importantly, enjoy sport, and that's a key word. So you're a lecturer in sport education as well. You have a PhD in this topic, so I know keeping and getting young girls involved in sport is very, very important to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's so I've been lucky that my career on the pitch has kind of translated to my career off the pitch as well, and empowering girls and coaches and teachers through sport has always been a passion of mine, and I hope to continue that onto the next chapter now, with some travel and with some projects that I have in mind as well. But I suppose speaking on the topic of girls in sport, like from my own PhD. Some of the findings that came through for me, and it's important to kind of note as well, particularly for coaches, that when I went out and asked girls like, why are you playing? What do you enjoy most about sport? Like the number one thing is having fun with their friends. Like that was a dominant theme coming through. I think it's important as well, and obviously girls are competitive and they want that challenge and they want to get the best out of themselves as well. But I do think it always falls back to the friendships and the memories. And even for me personally, I've 6 All-Ireland medals, but to be honest, like the medals don't really mean anything to me at the end of the day. It's friendships and it's the memories that I've made and the people that I've been surrounded with. That's what I take from playing with Cork over the years, and that's what I'll continue to take for the rest of my life essentially. So it's important. I think sometimes we can get caught into winning, but at the end of the day, like, we have to listen to what young girls want as well, and they want to feel good about themselves at training. They want to be with their friends, and obviously it's fun to win as well, and they want to enjoy that challenge. But on the other side then, when asking why are you dropping out and what's stopping girls from getting involved, ironically it's the other end of the stick. It's lack of enjoyment, coaches being too strict, the environment may be too competitive. Girls like competitiveness, but maybe perhaps too competitive at a younger age. And this notion of confidence as well, kind of skill-related confidence. If they're kind of comparing themselves to their friends and they feel that they're not as good as their friend at hand passing or kicking the ball, that can actually be a barrier as well for young girls. So I think really it's just important to educate coaches and teachers and players so that we can get more girls involved, because I think at the moment it's 1 in 2 girls are dropping out of sport, and that's such a worrying statistic, such a high and worrying statistic. So I suppose really it's trying to, what can we do to try and get more girls to first of all come to the game and introduce, and get them involved, but also to stay involved in sport.
We've loads of coaches watching this morning. What's the best bit of advice, knowing what you know and with the data and information that you have and that you've processed, what's the best bit of advice to, how do they make it fun?
So I think fun is a very elusive term, it's very broad, but I think, people forget that it's fun to win as well. It's fun for girls could mean, wearing the jersey, wearing their club gear around the place. It could also mean, challenging themselves in terms of skill. It's loads of meanings to fun. It's not as if you're just kind of going in and playing a game of duck, duck, goose or something. It's actually very relevant to, getting the best out of yourself. But I think really it's maximizing your time. I always say when it comes to coaching, maximum participation in your 60-minute session. How many minutes are the girls or boys, are they actually have the ball or the hurley in their hand? That are you maximizing that time? How many minutes of the session are you talking as a coach? That are they coming out? For some, that may be the only 60 minutes a week or 2 times a week that they're actually getting skill-related practice, and that deliberate practice as well. So I think really it's how are you maximizing your time, but also, are you providing your players with that kind of reinforcement, that feedback, that encouragement, and that social support. For girls particularly, they need that kind of validation, they need that feedback, they need that communication. So it's about kind of effectively communicating and providing that feedback. as well as opportunities to practice the skill, having that deliberate practice as well. But I always say, are they leaving the training session with a smile on their face? Like, even if it's just having a bit of a laugh at the end of the training session, if it's doing a bit of a fun team challenge game, even if it's just for 3 minutes of that 60 minutes, then you've your job done, and they're leaving and they will want to come back the next training session the next day, and that will affect their motivation, their intrinsic motivation. So really, it's actually very simple. Like, you don't need to change the world, and it's just small steps like that, like effective communication, deliberate practice for skill, and making sure that they're leaving the training session feeling good about themselves. I think if you can do that, then I think a lot goes to I think it'll be brilliant, and I think that girls particularly will enjoy the training sessions more, and I think that they will get a lot more out of it, and they'll want to come back.
So you join one of the winningest teams in Irish sports history as essentially a kid, and grow up while at the same time studying what it is that makes sport accessible and successful. It sounds a little bit like you kind of looked into the fact that there was a kind of coaching savant in charge of the team. It sounds like, listening to your teammates, that you all had that sense of enjoyment at the end of all your training sessions. Now, there's loads of different reasons for that. Obviously, a successful team, very, very driven characters, incredibly talented women who were already high achievers. But it kind of seems like what you're talking about, Eamonn Ryan kind of had this sense of just almost innate ability to do the things that you're now codifying years later.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think Eamonn, speaking of Eamonn, he was such a positive influence on all of us, and will continue to be a positive influence as well going forward. And I think really with Eamonn, it was just all about simplicity. We'd be doing such basic skills, but we'd be doing them at such a high intensity and focus. But with Eamonn, we always used to, we'd be laughing when we're leaving the session. We'd always have some sort of a kind of fun relay, or a game, or we'd be kind of boxing each other or whatever on the pitch, and we'd always leave just with that kind of upbeat feeling. I think that's just really important, because as much as we want to win, and as much as we want to win All Irelands, like at the end of the day, like sport is a hobby as well for us playing GAA, that we do have other things going on in our life as well, and it is an important part of our life. But at the end of the day, having that kind of lightheartedness in the training session as well, it actually helps with bonding. It helps, the players to bond together as well, and that feel-good environment. Like, you can't beat it. You'll forget about the drills, but you won't forget about how you feel coming off the pitch. And I think that's really, really important for coaches and for teachers and for players to appreciate that as well.
Are we missing a trick, Orla, when it comes to PE in schools, especially for young girls? Like, even when you look at Ireland in comparison to other EU countries, some of those stats you mentioned, like 20% of young girls not getting that very basic 60 minutes a week. That's pretty startling. Yeah,
it's very, very worrying. And it's the stats are high, the figures are high. That's the reality of it, unfortunately. And I think, I suppose, in Ireland, in terms of PE, the PE system as well, it's great that we have Leaving Cert PE now on the curriculum and on the syllabus. I do think still that there's a lot more to do at kind of primary school level. That's kind of the first few years. That's so important when it comes to developing habits about sport and about physical activity. And I think compared to other countries, I know other countries would have, specific PE teachers actually to come into the schools, designated teachers to come into the schools to actually do PE. It's not really regulated in Ireland, in the sense of I could be getting 30 minutes a day of physical activity or PE in school. You could be getting an hour, someone else could be getting no PE a week, and that's not really regulated, which is quite worrying as well. And sometimes it can almost be too late when you get into secondary school, because you've developed your habits, you've developed your paradigms about sport and about your attitudes towards sport. So I do think that it is important, and from a younger age, and even younger children as well, even for parents and coaches to be developing that skill and developing that positive attitude from a young age.
Were you encouraged to play a multitude of different sports as you grew up? Was it a case of choosing one or another by a certain age, or how did your background develop?
I actually played camogie, and I was a big athlete as well in athletics. So I was a competitive runner first before I joined football, and I think that really stood to me. I think having the athletics background in particular, just in terms of the stamina and the fitness and the speed, I think definitely complemented my play, and would have been a big asset over the years, of my play. That was the running game and the fitness side of things. But I do think it's important. Like, I definitely, if it wasn't for athletics and if it wasn't for camogie and football, like, I think by playing multiple sports when you're younger, it's really advantageous. And I think that you develop more confidence and you develop more skill. Your skill is more versatile, and you also have, an enhanced social connection as well. So I do think it's all positive. From my own experience, I was actually running competitively in athletics. I was a cross-country runner at the same time, kind of as I got called up to the Cork Senior Ladies Football panel. So I actually there had been talks of an athletics scholarship as well at the time, over to America and to run professionally. But I'm glad that I chose the route of staying at home with the Cork ladies. But yeah, like, there are decisions that you will have to make, I suppose, kind of coming into your later teens. If you want to take, if you want to go a bit higher in terms of like elite sport, you can't do it all. So there are decisions that I have to make. But I am grateful that I chose the path of ladies football, and thankfully we've had that success over the years. But I do think it's important for younger players definitely to maximise their experience, really, and the variety of sports.
How far did those conversations go? Were you on a trip to the States looking at facilities?
No, I was. There was talks about going to Kentucky, all right. But I think at the time, I suppose I was doing my leaving cert. I was also, just had been called up to the Cork panel. I think we were in the All Ireland that year, that I was doing my leaving cert as well. And I felt I was a bit young. I obviously had never lived out of home or anything. So I think, the team setup was the big draw to stay as well. Sometimes athletics can be, you're on your own a lot and it's kind of you against like everyone else. So I think having that team aspect was the big draw to stay in Cork and to play with the Cork ladies. Now it's something that I feel I have unfinished business in athletics as well. So maybe in a few years' time I might go back on the cross country field.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard to mix the two, because cross country actually slows you down, whereas you need to be off the mark when it's football, because you need to be fast and turn and be agile. Whereas with cross country, you kind of have to build up your mileage, and that can slow your speed down. It's more stamina in cross country, so I couldn't really do both over the years. So I do think perhaps maybe I might have some unfinished business in the cross country world, and I may go back in the coming years.
We have other opportunities for you, apparently. David Riley's been in touch in the YouTube comments to say hi to Orlagh from everybody at Costa Gales in Marbella in Spain. Big game in Seville on the 11th of February. We'll pay for the flights. So there you go. Retirement sounds peachy.
I have a good relationship with Costa Gales. I actually spent some time over there last year to do a bit of coaching, and played with and trained with the boys and the girls over there as well. So a big shout out to Costa Gales and Justin McCarthy in particular. Yeah, they were very good to me.
See, I'm not surprised, Orla, that you didn't choose Kentucky, because Cork people love Cork. So I mean, Cork's better than Kentucky any day of the week. It's
absolutely
People's Republic. When you talk, Orla, about I remember you speaking before about those 6 All-Irelands, and the fact that even during a lot of those All-Ireland runs, you wouldn't even have had hot food after training. You wouldn't have had travel expenses up until maybe recent years. So has the game come a long way in that regard, the women's game?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that it has made massive strides, particularly from my own experience playing. So since 2011 to now, like 2023, absolutely. Like, in terms of just the LGFA have done incredible work. Even the little sponsorship, the 2020 campaign, all of that has really, really helped improve and promote the game. I remember in 2011, I think, that was the first All-Ireland. There was about maybe 18,000 at the game. And then, for that figure to be reaching almost 60,000 now is incredible. It really, really is incredible. Even with the GPA as well. I know the women's GPA and the GPA have emerged as well, and they have done really, really good work over the years. And I think the last 2 years now, we've been receiving expenses for the first time ever, which is really, really positive. And a credit to the GPA as well for organising all of that. It has been frustrating, I won't lie, over the years. But look, I suppose in terms of like the food situation and, you know, other aspects. But look, at the end of the day, like anything else should be a bonus. And, you know, Eamonn used to always kind of remind us of that you're playing because you love to play and you're passionate about it. Anything else should be a bonus. But I do think, obviously, in terms of the necessities such as food and travel expenses, that should be catered for. And look, it is being catered for now, slowly but surely, which is a really, really positive step going forward.
We were talking about this in advance, and the whole so there's loads of different pillars here. There's like participation is hugely important. There's also the elite end of the sport that needs to be developed and financed properly. One of the next great frontiers is bringing through female coaches and managers, and we still seem to be a little bit behind the curve. And I don't know, is there something that can be done to hothouse talented coaches to make sure that we see that next generation coming through and just assuming the roles on the sidelines that they should be assuming?
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, there's definitely a lack of the female kind of, you know, referees and coaches. A credit to Sport Ireland, in fairness, and they always try and encourage, and you know, they run programs for like women's coaches and all that as well. So they're always kind of trying to improve things for women. I do think, you know, we do need kind of more women role models as well, and I do feel that we kind of need more women to kind of stand up and speak about, you know, even coaching, refereeing. I do think the role model aspect of it is massive, and whether that's at a grassroots level or county level or at a national level, I do think that kind of more women need to kind of speak up about it and share their experiences of coaching, refereeing, you know, getting involved with teams, in order for a bit of momentum, I think, to come. Like I often say as well, with, you know, over the years, when I look up at the stand when I'm playing, most of the time, like, you'd see men, the majority of the stand men, and there wouldn't be as many women supporting the women. So like sometimes the women actually have to get on board to support the women. You know, more women come to the matches, more women maybe speak up about their experiences of coaching or playing, to try and inspire and encourage women to get involved kind of at a higher level and an elite level as well.
Yeah, for sure. Orlagh, great stuff. Congratulations on an incredible career, like truly incredible. And it sounds like you're going to do more brilliant work in the world of sport in the future too. So best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Great to have you on this morning. That's Orlagh Farmer there, who has, as we said, just recently retired, a 6-time All-Ireland champion. And that is a glittering career by any stretch of the imagination.